Hello everyone, my name is Christina Werner and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are talking about mailing your cards for the month of January 2023. My theme for the month is mailer and mailing. So for the very last video of the month, I thought it would be a smart idea to go over calculating postage and just simple ways to mail your cards when maybe there's some complicated things on your cards, bumpiness, different like shaped cards, things like that. So first, we're going to talk about calculating your postage for your cards. And then I'm going to give you some little tips that I've learned over the years for mailing kind of complicated cards. So here's a bunch of envelopes I've got here that I'm about to mail out. A lot of these I've created during this month. This one's from, a live stream from a long time ago. I'm terrible at mailing cards. So this is also a challenge to myself to get these out the door. So I've got all of these done. I've got correct postage on them. So first we're going to go through this handy little tool that I've come up with, and then we're going to use a few of these as examples to calculate postage and make sure that I have enough stamps on each one of my envelopes. So I'm going to gather these up real quick and I'll show you what I have created. Some of these envelopes I haven't sealed yet, but we'll get there. Okay, so when I was doing a lot of research just about calculating postage, I realized that it came down to just a few things. The size of your envelope, the weight of your envelope, if it's non-machinable or not, and sometimes there's questions like what makes it non-machinable, so we're going to go over that. But just asking yourself a few of those questions about your finished card and envelope will help determine postage. So it's a handy little tool. I hope you guys find it handy. If not, feel free to ignore it. But I have this free printout. There's a link to it down in the video description. But this is basically what I've gathered. Now, this is kind of a handy tool to help determine postage for your card and envelope. And it's specific to card and envelope. So I've got some tips on here as well. But most of all, I kind of determined or gleaned knowledge from the actual postage calculator at USPS.com. Now, I really should have prefaced this video by saying all of this information I'm sharing is accurate as of the end of January 2023, and also it's only for those who are mailing cards and envelopes from the United States. Unfortunately, I don't know any information if you are in other countries, so you're going to have to go to your local post office and figure that out on your own or do a lot of Googling, kind of like what I did. But for those of us in the US, I've already kind of compiled everything all together. So this is a flow chart that's going to walk you through how to determine your postage. So up here it says start here. Question 1, is your card in its final envelope? If no, I say put your card in an envelope. If it needs a piece of cardstock in front of embellishments, put it in now. After doing so, return to question 1. This is referring to some of those kind of lumpy, bumpy cards that maybe have sequins. Like I've received some cards in the mail from loved ones where they have included sequins on the front of their card. And sequins, when they go through the machines at the post office, it flattens everything out and whatever. And those sequins can get caught. They can catch on things and then it will tear the envelope. So what I like to do in those cases, let me see if I can find a card with a sequin on it, so I can kind of show you what you can do. All right, so here's one that has sequins on it. So what I would do is just take a piece of cardstock, use inexpensive cardstock. You don't need anything crazy. Granted, if your recipient is a card maker, they might appreciate getting some nice cardstock, but just take any scrap of cardstock, put it over those sequins, or if you've got some other kind of troublesome embellishments, and then slide it in your envelope. And that's just going to kind of give a little bit more of a slick surface for those machines to roll over. I'm not entirely sure if they're rolling over things, but so they don't get caught on the envelope. That's basically what I'm doing there. All right, so your card's in its final envelope. Yes. Question 2, is your card or envelope thicker than 1/4 inch? How do you determine that? There's a few different ways. I did research online, and there are some templates that you can buy, or I'm not sure what they're called. Are they called templates? I think they are. So this is one that I bought from stamps.com. And this is actually a very handy tool because it goes into more detail than just determining the thickness. It will show you different ways to determine if your envelope is too small or if your envelope is too large, or, you know, all that. But for this question right here, is your card or envelope thicker than 1/4 inch? You can use this maximum letter thickness slot, and it's exactly 1/4 inch. So you can test your card. So let me grab one of my cards that I've tested, and it did not pass this test. It's this cute card right here. It has this cute little slide up little deal. Love this card, but unfortunately, it is just really thick right over that basket of strawberries. So when I put it in its envelope, final envelope, make sure it is in the envelope before you move on to do any of these other questions. I tried to put it through the slot and it gets caught. So that means it does not pass the thickness test. So in that case, if I was doing it for this particular card, I would say, yes, it is thicker than 1/4 inch. And so it says, your card or envelope is considered a large envelope by USPS, and it will cost considerably more to mail. Take my advice and deliver this card in person. You incur astronomically much more in postage needed when your card and envelope is considered a large envelope instead of just a regular stamped envelope. So for this card in particular, I would give it to its recipient in person, just to save on putting it through the mail or anything like that. If you do want to actually send it through the mail, let's say I have a friend across the country who loves strawberries, I'm going to need to send this card. I would probably mail it, but I would maybe take it into the post office, have them determine the exact postage, and then just put some regular postage on it. If you want to decorate the envelope beforehand, I would decorate it and then put this envelope inside a larger envelope at the post office. Just because I don't know how much postage is on it until I go to the post office itself. Now, USPS.com does have that postage calculator, and I'll show that to you in a bit. So you can use that to get a rough estimate. But if you want a very, very accurate price for what you're going to be mailing when it's considered a large envelope, I would just go to the post office itself. But for this situation where we're just trying to send our regular cards, I would go ahead and just save this and give this card to someone in person. All right, speaking on that thickness test, this stamps.com first class mail shaped based template is very inexpensive. I ordered it directly from stamps.com. It was under $10. I think it was like $8.95 or something like that. I think it's really worth it to have on hand. But really, all that I've ever used this for, since I mostly send like regularly sized envelopes, I just use it for that thickness slot. Now, if you want a different option, it's a little bit prettier, but also a little bit more expensive. This is an acrylic envelope size template that I bought on Etsy. Let me put some paper down so you kind of see the details on top. It has a lot of the same features as that stamps.com template. Mainly, it has the slots for your letter and then also the slot for your large envelope. So you can test the thickness of each thing. But it also has this handy dandy corner doohickey thing in the corner. So what you would do is you would take your envelope or whatever you're mailing, you'd put it in the lower left corner. And as long as it's larger than this area that says too small, you should be able to mail it. So same thing goes for this right here. In fact, I could go like this, line it up over top, and then I know it's not going to be too small, so I can mail this envelope. The thing that's nice about having the acrylic templates is that the cardboard one, the less expensive one, this one really isn't that expensive. I think it was under $20. The good thing about this one is that it doesn't bend or warp or anything like that. So if you have a particularly lumpy card or anything like that, or you've worn down the cardboard on that previous one, this acrylic I think is a little bit more durable. I find it really nice to use. So I'll use this in a couple examples later on when we start walking through some envelopes. Okay, so that's how you determine thickness. And so it says, okay, it is not thicker than a 1/4 inch. So we're going to go to question 3. Is your card and envelope, any of these things? Is it square? If you say yes to any of these, you have to go on this yes line. Is it square? Is the address not parallel to the long edge? For example, this is the long edge and the street address is parallel to that long edge. If I had an envelope and I was being artistic and I wanted to turn it and maybe I had the address right here, that would make the address parallel to the short edge. And in that case, I would have to say yes to this question. Does it have rigid areas? Meaning like most of it's pretty flexible, but in the center there's one really lumpy, rigid part. I think that's what they mean. Or is it very lumpy and cannot be smoothed out by inserting another piece of cardstock in the envelope? Kind of like what I showed up here, putting that cardstock over the sequins. If there's like a particular thick embellishment on your card, and if you can imagine it's going through a machine and it's like sliding through, is it going to get caught on anything? And if the answer is yes, then you have to go to this yes right here. Okay, so let's say you say yes. Your card and envelope is non-machinable. Include the non-machinable surcharge in your total in the postage calculator in the corner, down here. Continue to question 4. So down here, this is a good time to kind of look at this little postage calculator down here. You can use this for both US addresses and international. You're going to start with your base price. So that is the lowest amount that your envelope will cost. Now in this example, it means it's non-machinable. So if I was mailing this to someone in the US, I would add an additional 40 cents. Same charge if it's international. That's kind of a great thing there. Okay, so let's say you've said no to all of these situations. You're going to go to question 4. Or you've already determined it's non-machinable. We're at question 4 now. Does your card or envelope weigh more than 1 ounce? So you're probably wondering, like, how am I supposed to determine how much it weighs? You can use a kitchen scale. So I have this scale from Amazon. I'll use it in a bit when we walk through an actual mailing of a card. So if your card weighs more than 1 ounce, or let's say it doesn't, no additional postage needed, calculate your postage right down here. So if it does weigh more than 1 ounce, you're going to go to question 5. Does your card or envelope weigh more than 3 ounces? If you say no, so it's somewhere between 1 and 3 ounces, your card or envelope requires more postage for additional ounces. See prices in postage price box and add them to your total. Calculate your postage. So over here, under weight charges, right here, if your total weight is 1 to 2 ounces, those are the additional charges for US addresses and international. If your total weight is between 2 and 3 ounces, that is the amount that you'd add on. So if you have an envelope that is, let's say, 2.5 ounces, you would just add the 48 cents. So let's say it was, there's the base price is 63 plus 48. Down here, you'd get $1. I think that's $1.11. So that is the amount that you would need for that particular envelope in that case. Now, if you had an envelope that was just maybe 1.5 ounces, so 1.5 ounces, you would just add on 24 cents. So in that case, it would be 87 cents total to mail your card. Kind of the same thing happens for international, other than the prices kind of add up a little bit more quickly because it is, you're mailing something all the way across the world. Okay. So let's say you put your card and envelope on a scale and it is more than 3 ounces. So you say, yes, your card or envelope is considered a large envelope by the USPS and it will cost considerably more to mail. Take my advice and deliver this card in person. Or go to the post office and have the actual postage price determined. You can always use the calculator at the website for USPS, like I've mentioned before. But I find when you're getting into the large envelope territory, it's probably best just to take it to the post office. This scenario here that I'm walking you through is all of us at home trying to do it on our own without having to go to the post office until we're ready to actually drop off the envelope. Okay, so this is the flow chart that we're working with. I'm going to walk you through calculating the postage for a few of these different scenarios. So let's go to, let's see here. Okay, and this one is one that was problematic, so I'm going to go over that one. So's this one. And let's do another one that's just maybe a little bit, we'll do an international one. Yeah, we'll do those three. So we're basically going over like mailing these and making sure I have the correct amount of postage. All right, so let's start with this one. All right. So the first thing is the card in the envelope? Yes, it is. Is your card envelope thicker than a 1/4 inch? Let's test it out. I'm going to go to my template. By the way, there is kind of a DIY solution for this, and I'll talk about it right here in a minute. I'm using the template. Can I slide this through without any problems? Yep, goes through, no problem. So let's say you don't have a template like that. I do have a solution for you. And it is this specific die from Sign This As Stamp. This is from the Sentiment Labels die set. So you might already even have this in your stash. This is exactly 1/4 inch wide. That's how wide the die is. So I actually have this template already cut out because I was using the sentiment strip kind of tip from Jennifer McGuire. This is this die right here, right? It's a 1/4 inch. So I could take this envelope, and if I can slide it through without any problems, then I'm good to go. For most envelopes, this is going to be wide enough, but if you have a particularly larger envelope, what you would do is just use a larger piece of cardstock, and you would run it through your die cutting machine once, and then take the die again and kind of slot it into that like a puzzle piece. Run it through again, and it's going to extend that kind of little slot. All right, so that's a DIY solution for that. I should have mentioned that when I was talking about this before, but I forgot. Okay, so this one is not more than a 1/4 inch. We'll say no. Question 3, is your card or envelope any of these things? Is it square? It is definitely square. So now I know it is non-machinable, so I'm going to have to include a 40 additional cents. All right, yes, there we go, and I'm going to go into question 4. Does your card or envelope weigh more than 1 ounce? So I'm going to bring in my little kitchen scale. A lot of kitchen scales have different units, so if you have to change your unit, there's probably a unit button. So I'm to ounces now, and I'll put my finished card and envelope on top, and it comes in just shy of 1 ounce, so it's perfect. It's within the 1 ounce limit. Does your card weigh more than 1 ounce? No, right here. No additional postage is needed. Calculate your postage. So I have the base price of 63 cents and the non-machinable surcharge of 40 cents. So this would cost $1.03 to send. I'm going to use the calculator on my phone because fast math is not good. All right, so 5 plus a forever stamp is worth 63 cents right now, plus another forever stamp, 63 cents, plus 37. All right, it's basically I've got $1.68 worth of postage on this envelope. It is well above the required $1.03. So this one is good to go. All right, let's move on to this next one. All right, so this is very thin. I already know it's going to be definitely under a 1/4 inch thick. So I'm just going to say, no, it is not thicker than a 1/4 inch. Does your card or envelope have any of these things? Is it square? No. Does the address, is address not parallel to the long edge? Well, this one has a little bit of a wavy address. So it's questionable. It's kind of a gray area. So to be safe, I'm going to say yes. It does run not parallel. So I've already determined a yes. I don't even have to move on. Yes, I need a non-machinable surcharge in my postage calculator. So I'll just remember this down here. Question 4, does your card or envelope weigh more than 1 ounce? Let's weigh it. It is well under 1 ounce. It's like barely half an ounce. So we'll say no additional postage is needed. So for this card in particular, it would be actually the same price as the previous card. It would be $1.03. So let's total up this postage. Now, if you guys remember in my video last week, I only had these stamps. So let's get the total for that. 6 plus 4 plus 32 plus 10 plus 29, 81 cents. I am, what is that? 22 cents short. So that's why in my video, I added one more stamp. Now, I could have gone through my collection of vintage stamps and got exactly 22 cents to add on, but I just played it safe and I put another forever stamp. So that's why I needed additional postage. And it was just to be safe because I wasn't sure if having the street address on kind of a wavy line, if that would make this non-machinable. So just to be safe, I added the postage. All right, let's go for a third example. We have this envelope that is going all the way to Canada. So we've got an international envelope to figure out postage for. So first things first, is the card or envelope thicker than 1/4 inch? Let's see, this time let's try the acrylic template. Slides right through, no problem. All right, it is not. No. Question 3, is your card or envelope any of these things? Square, no. Is the address not parallel? No, it is parallel. Does it have rigid areas? No, not really. I mean, it is pretty stiff, but it's still generally very flat. Is it lumpy? No. So no. Question 4, does your card or envelope weigh more than 1 ounce? Let's weigh it. It is 0.78. Totally no. No additional postage is needed. Calculate your postage. Okay, so down here, it's an international envelope, so $1.45. It does not need, let's see, hold on. Yeah, it doesn't need non-machinable. It doesn't have weight charges. So this would just be the base international first class letter price of $1.45. Let's total this up. 5 plus 63 plus 15 plus 63. Forever stamps are 63 cents right now. The thing that's great about using forever stamps is that their total value changes as the post office changes their price for first class postage. So I bought this a few years ago. It was probably 55 cents or less when I bought it, but now it's worth 63. It's kind of great. All right, so I have $1.46 of postage on this, and I only needed $1.45. So this is almost a perfect amount of postage for this envelope. Okay, so we walked through those scenarios. Let's go through one that's a little bit heavier. I think this one was one that was heavy. It passed the thickness test. It doesn't have any of the non-machinable things, but where I did get hung up is, does it weigh more than 1 ounce? Gonna weigh that. It is 1.3 ounces. So this one is going to a US address. So it would be the base price of 63 cents plus the 1 to 2 ounce total weight. So it would be 63 cents plus 24 cents. Don't make me do math. I was an art major. 63 plus 24. It needs to be 87 cents total in order for this envelope to make it to its destination. So 87 cents is our total. We've got 3 plus 63 plus 3 plus 20 plus 63. I've got $1.50 over $1.50 on this one, so I definitely have enough postage for this envelope. I might need additional postage. I do need additional postage. So let's total this up and make sure that I have enough postage. Now, one way that you can determine like a price of something is you're going to go to USPS.com. You just do this on your phone or whatever. And you're going to calculate a price. So calculate a price. Now it says, what's the destination country? US. I'm mailing from my UPS box, and I'm mailing to this zip code right here. So I'm going to put in 67133. The date you plan to mail it. Now, I always thought, like, what's the difference if I mail it next week or not? Well, you might want to check that nowadays, because as far as I know, USPS is planning to up first class postage a few times this year. So if you maybe, let's say this is a birthday card, I'm not going to mail it till April. I might put in April 1st as the mailing date, and then it will tell me how much postage I need. So we're going to follow through and finish this out. Okay, so I'm going to mail it. Let's say I'll mail it today. I'm going to say it's I want to calculate the price based on shape and size. So I'll tap that. And then it's I'm going to round up 1.4 ounces. So 1.4. Now it's not an overly large envelope. It's like 5 by 7. If you are not sure if your envelope would be considered a large envelope, you could, once again, you could use one of these guides. Let me open this up again. So if your envelope or whatever exceeds this area right here, like the corner goes past that in any dimension, that means it's a large envelope. So it's not, you wouldn't use this regular thing. You'd have to, when you calculate your postage at USPS, you'd have to say large envelope, but we're just a letter at this point. So letter, and let's see, it's not particularly rigid. I think what they mean by content is rigid is in their little diagram here, it means that there's a portion of the contents of the envelope that is more rigid than others. This one just seems to be pretty thick in general, so I think it's fine. It's not a square envelope. And then as far as odd-shaped envelope, it's a regular sized envelope. But you'll notice in their diagram, they actually have a vertical envelope with the address running parallel to the short end of the envelope. If it was that, that would make it non-machinable. So in this case, her name is a little wonky, but the address itself is parallel to the long end of the envelope. So it's not that. I'll just do none of the following. And then I'm going to scroll to the very bottom where it's first class mail stamped letter. And it says 87 cents. That's basically an additional 24 cents, which is exactly what I've looked up. When you have an additional ounce, so this is over 1 ounce, you just have an additional 24 cents. Okay, so I did say, or I teased at the beginning, that I would walk you through some more complicated cards to mail. So here we go. We know how to determine postage now, right? So we just want to know how to mail some problematic cards. So this is my little stack of problematic cards. We've already talked about this one with the sequins. You're going to put that, just a piece of paper on top. This is one that is an odd sized shaped card, or it could just be that it's, smaller than your envelope. When you have an odd shaped card, or it's just smaller, it's going to like float around on the envelope. I just put another piece of cardstock in. That's going to fill out the edges of the envelope, and it makes it super easy to mail. Just make sure that you don't determine the weight of your envelope or the thickness until after you put everything together. So finish your entire envelope, put the card in, like be ready to go, and then weigh it. All right, this one, I believe, is a really great one. It's just really thick. So it's actually an A2 card, but it will not fit into an A2 envelope because it's just too thick. So I have a few of these A6 envelopes that are just a little bit larger, and it allows for to not be so snug getting in the envelope, right? Now when I weighed this, because it's kind of big and thick, it was over 1 ounce. So in the top corner, since I don't know where this is going yet, I just used a pencil and wrote 2 ounces. So now I know that this particular card is going to require an additional ounce of postage. All right, this card is another one that is an odd shaped card. So I put another piece of cardstock inside, and that'll keep it nice and safe and prevent the corners from bending as it's mailed. Now this was a very problematic card. It's a thick one. This is actually a card that I showed how to create in an online card classes.com class. I'm not sure which class it was. I don't even remember. I don't entirely remember, but it's a really thick one, right? So when I went to test this one out, I went to put it through the slot and it is way too thick, like even without the envelope. So for this card in particular, I put it in a larger envelope. So this is an A6 envelope, not an A2. And I'm also going to be hand delivering this card. Okay, so I think that kind of covers everything that I wanted to share with you guys today. You can use a kitchen scale. You can use, you can even buy a specific postage scale, which is really great also. So I'm going to go and mail all this stuff as soon as I'm done here. You can download this printout at the link down in the video description. Go ahead and print that out. As the postage prices change, I'll try to update the PDF so that it's a little bit more accurate, and then you can keep using the postage calculator in the corner. Hope that helped you guys out. I will be back soon with a brand new theme for February. This theme for February is one that I selfishly need, so that's why I've chosen it. You probably can guess. But I will see you guys on Wednesday for that video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.